This is the New York City FC Pregame Live. Tonight, New York City open up the 2026 season on the road against the LA Galaxy. And now, here are your hosts, Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
Yeah, we're not going to try to sugarcoat this one for circumstances beyond our control. We are not in Los Angeles for the big one tonight as New York City opens up their season against the LA Galaxy. Instead, we're in that studio basement of mine where we spent a lot of COVID, where we will be at home doing the road broadcast for you tonight, the New York City FC Radio Network. Welcome back, everybody. 2026, there he is, the great Matty Lawrence. My name is Glenn Crooks, and beginning at 6:45 with the pregame show, that's when we'll start our 12th season of radio commentary. And that's all coming up with Pascal Janssen, a pregame briefing with him. Had a chance to talk to him during the preseason event at Coachella as well. And Matty, we've got all kinds of things to talk about. But first of all, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. I love the fact that with the little camera, you even had to headline it Blizzard just to make sure that everybody knew we were in the middle of a blizzard. But yeah, I'm doing well apart from the weather. The weather in LA looks perfect. We've got a few shots later on, of course, of LA. But yeah, we are struggling in a blizzard. But it's great to be back, Glenn. 12th year for yourself, 10th year for me. So this is a decade alongside you. As somebody a lot funnier than us said, that's my longest relationship ever by a long time. Sean Derry, wow. When we were on the radio show, on your Sirius XM show. But yeah, I cannot wait to get started. And I think it should be a good season because Pascal Janssen is still at the helm, Glenn. I really do have huge hopes for him as a manager moving forward and possibly away from NYCFC at some point. I'm not wishing his life away or his coaching life, but he's somebody who is very enigmatic. He's somebody who loves the sport, obviously, Glenn, but also he just seems to get the best out of players. He seems to be able to drag a little something out of players, or certainly from what I've seen so far, whether that was at Ferencváros, whether it was at AZ Alkmaar, whether it's here at NYCFC, he just seems to get a little something extra out of players.
Well, that's one thing that I asked him in the briefing is, and let's get to that, because in his first season, pretty good year, you'd have to say, but he doesn't seem to ever be satisfied. But New York City with a record of 7-12-5, fifth in the East, so not qualifying to get the home field advantage was a bit disappointing. A poor match against Seattle on decision day, but on the road, they were 8-1-1 over the last 10 road games, all competitions leading into the Eastern Conference Final at Miami. So one of the things I asked Pascal is just about the relationship between he and his players, which, you know, it started last preseason, but he didn't come in until January the 6th. So he was kind of a late signing himself. But here's his response. But what were some of the things that really had to be sorted out, do you think? What did the team need to learn about you and what you did?
They had to get to know me. Of course, they had to learn about me, what type of person I am, my likes and dislikes, how my response is to certain situations. You know how it works, Glenn. I know you do coaching as well. So in every dressing room, you have to deal with a group that is always following you and making sure that they understand what your intentions are, and also being competitive together, because that is what it's all about in this professional sport. It's about people, but it's also about competing together and trying to be successful together. So there's a lot of emotions going back and forth as well. That has helped us get in line throughout last season. And the benefit of staying together for another season is that we know each other better. And for the huge part, we know what to expect. But like I said just now, that doesn't give any guarantees because you have to do it all over again, which is a beautiful part of this game.
Love it. And in Pascal, we trust, as we invite you to chime in during our NYCFC Pregame Live, which we do an hour before kickoff. This is number 1 of 34 in the regular year. There's U.S. Open Cup, there's Leagues Cup, there's hopefully for New York City a postseason. But that's the beauty of the game, Matty. Every year is different.
It is. And I love Pascal's points here as well. It's the beauty of the game. You have to go again. And that's what the best teams do. They go again and want to do better than they did the previous season. Granted, of course, they weren't MLS Cup winners, NYCFC, but he will want to do more. And I think Pascal Janssen, when you look at him, I am not comparing them, but certainly he will always find things to improve upon. And I think Pep Guardiola is the perfect person to look at. Man City can win games 6-0. When they were in their pomp 2-3 seasons ago, they could win 6-0 and he'd still have his arm around the shoulder of Jack Grealish, maybe as it was back then, and pointing out things that they can improve. Never happy, always working, always striving to get better and better. And as I say, I'm not comparing the two because they're totally different people. They are both their own individual coaches. But Pascal Janssen, for me, he's an incredibly impressive character. More than that, he's an incredibly impressive coach, Glenn. And I think he's a born winner. That certainly comes across to me.
And he's one of, this is interesting, one of 4 first-year head coaches that got to the conference finals last year. New York City played against Inter Miami. That was Javier Mascherano. It was his first club coaching experience. He had worked with the youth national teams in Argentina. Jesper Sorensen at Vancouver and Mikey Varish at San Diego. And we see San Diego rolling along as well. Vancouver had success in their opener. Miami, not so much at LAFC. We'll be getting to that in a moment. It's the other LA Galaxy. They are hosting New York City tonight at Dignity Health Sports Park, the former StubHub Center, the former Home Depot Center. And I don't know if there'll be any other names along the way, but talking to Matty before we started this, that I remember going to the Home Depot Center when the national teams trained there. Well, now they have this big place in Atlanta where they can go and do their thing. And that's where they will be, the U.S. men's national team with Matt Freese, we assume, in goal. Belgium and Portugal coming up at the end of March. So the season kicks off, and then the international break comes pretty quickly thereafter.
Yeah, it does, and they are huge games. Yep. Any game from now on is huge for the USA, for the US men's national team. But certainly that's up against 2 very good teams as well, Belgium and Portugal. You want to be starting to figure out, I'm sure he has Pochettino, but he wants to show us now what his starting 11 is, what it's going to look like, and how they are going to play the US men's national team against teams that they're going to face, or similar standards anyway, the likes of Belgium and the likes of Portugal. Obviously, they're tough teams to play against.
New York City is starting on the road on opening day for the 12th. Ever since they were born, they're on the road. It'll be the first 2 games. It's going to be the Galaxy today, and then the Supporters Shield holders, Philadelphia, at Subaru Park next Sunday, 1 week from tonight. But the road is something else that I really wanted to talk to Pascal about. Now, if you'll recall, Matty, first 10 road games in 2025 under Pascal Janssen in his first year, just 1 win. But then only 1 loss the rest of the way on the road with a draw. So we had that sort of discussion here in the pregame briefing. Let's see what he thinks about the road.
I would say becoming more consistent throughout the season in general, and not worry so much about playing home or away games. But those are just numbers, Glenn. This is last season, so that's helpful for the history books. It doesn't help us go forward into the 26th season. It's a new challenge.
But you had a lot of the same players now that you had then, so they got that feeling of getting it done on the road. I mean, there's something to it.
Yeah, but still, you don't have to become complacent. You have to work even harder to get the same results and hopefully better results if you just focus on the away results. But for us, it's not just focusing on the away results. It's focusing on a better performance all over throughout 26.
Well, I'll sit on the fence there, Glenn, because I think that you both of your points are valid. The fact that because they ended playing away from home so well last season,
right,
you do carry that into the next season. But also Pascal's point of last season is last season, it's in the past, it doesn't count for anything. Granted, if you win every single game of the season and you lift the Champions League and you lift the MLS Cup and you lift everything else, that's not relevant in terms of what you're going to do this season. But
remember how 2023, 2024, very few successes on the road.
You do bring confidence with you. You can still bring confidence with you. And look, if they'd have lost the last 10 away games, you wouldn't want to then start away from home against LA Galaxy and away from home against Philadelphia Union. You would be slightly filled with skepticism. You would be skeptical about treading away from Yankee Stadium or Citi Field. So I'm more with your point, I think, Glenn. The fact that it did end so well away from home doesn't mean that we're going to win today, but it just means that the players feel a lot better in themselves being away from their home stadium.
He's Matty Lawrence. I'm Glenn Crooks, part of the New York City FC radio network on the English side. Tonight, you'll have to, if you're watching on Apple Television, you'll have to sync us up by going to nycfc.com/radio or the TuneIn app or the NYCFC app. So there are a lot of different places to find us, and then you sync up, man. You put the audio on and then pause it, wait for the kickoff, and then boom, and you're good. It works. I don't know. I know some people do it. I know Tony Larson does it, right, Tony? Tony sent us a nice note before we started here on the broadcast saying, please bring the good weather back from L.A. And as we said at the top, due to circumstances, we travel with the team for all games. We're inside the stadium. Tonight will be an exception. We're not in my driveway, but we're just inside in the lovely confines of the basement here. I do a lot of work here, Matty. It's kind of comfortable. See all the little banners. And,
it's certainly not LA, but yes, it's going to be fun for today, and it will be even more fun, won't it? If there's 3 points as well at the end of it for NYCFC, that's for certain as well.
They were in the finals of the East, November 29th. The LA Galaxy, their last competitive match was Decision Day, October the 18th. Now, look, preseason you play, and we want to make sure we're good here. Yeah, the starting lineups are out, and let's go over them now. And first, let's start with the boys in blue. They're going to be in their All Nations kit tonight, which I think is appropriate, and I think it's a pretty cool kit. I'm anxious to see what you think. But here we go. So Kai Truin, the only new transfer, with the exception he's a transfer in. The only other new signings or new additions were through the homegrown route. And those players that you've seen announced along the way are not even going to be in the squad tonight. But Kai Truin we anticipate he'll be in the midfield with Aiden O'Neill, which I think is a bit intriguing since they're both teammates with the Australian national team as Kai Truin comes over from Melbourne City.
Well, look, we know that Truin was trampolined in to take the place of Justin Hack, wasn't he? That was the whole point, that you lose Justin Hack, somebody who can play as a centre half, somebody who can play pretty much anywhere, certainly as a holding midfielder, and Truin can do the same thing as well. And I'm with you, Glenn. I like the way the spine of the team looks right here, or we assume it will. Truin and O'Neill together, two Aussies. Then you've got the two Brazilian boys as well, or two Portuguese-speaking boys as well in behind in Gustavo, two Brazilians, Gustavo and Martins. I quite like that, Glenn. I really do. I think it solidifies the spine. In front of them, we assume it will be Maxi Morales, somebody who's been here, been there, done it. I know that he's getting on in years, but I've said it before. I think the fact that he carries very little weight, the fact of his frame, I think it is easier for his knees, for his hips, for his ankles to deal with it, with the pounding. If you're Thiago Martins and you're 6'2", 6'3", and you're 210 pounds, it is a lot harder. There is a lot more load, a lot more pressure going through your limbs.
I think I'm going to live longer. Since I have less pressure on my knees, I'm going to live longer. Maxi, by the way, turns 39 on February 27th. On the LA Galaxy side, Micevic is going to be in goal. Auda, Garces, Glesnes, Yamani at the back. Justin Hack, the former New York City homegrown, he'll be in the midfield along with Sanabria. And then that front four is pretty good. Paintsel, Royce underneath, Peck on the right, and João Klaus, the designated player. He will get the start tonight. Now, you mentioned Kai Truin. I'm sure you're anxious to hear what what Pascal Janssen
thinks
of Kai Truin. And the like-for-like Justin Hack sort of replacement. And I think you'll get a sense of it here with Pascal.
Well, Kai is in a good place. He's healthy, he's fit, ready to compete also, getting more adjusted to how we train and how we want to play. We saw a few glimpses of him in the games that he's played in Coachella, which was a confirmation for myself that he is that flexible player, that versatile player that can help us in several positions, which is a key element, if you ask me, in building a competitive roster at the MLS level. So he's a young guy, very eager to come and help us. Good mentality. His technical base is impressive. He's a very clean passer, very calm and composed on the ball. And even though he's not the biggest guy on the pitch, he's a tough one. He's very competitive. He likes to challenge the 1v1s, get physical with players and opponents. So I think overall he's a good addition for our dressing room.
And I couldn't help but notice he started the game against San Jose, the final match at Coachella, and he started at left central defense. And all of a sudden we see him in the midfield during the attacking phase, much like we saw Justin Hack a year ago. For 52 goal contributions. We'll detail that in a bit. Martins for New York City. And now Truin. And this is in very much a Justin Hack picture, moving out of the back and into the midfield. And a lot of that was started when Truin got himself into the attacking area.
We've had several conversations, obviously, since he arrived with us about his play in possession. But like I said to you just now, Glenn, those were things that we as a club and recruitment team have spotted in the qualities from Kai. So that made him a very interesting prospect for us.
Yep, all eyes on Kai Truin, I think, because of the departure of Justin Hack, and you heard Pascal, or you will hear in a moment. He has already said it publicly that he's not necessarily happy that Hack is gone. He wanted him to stay, but we'll play a Pascal clip in a moment about Hack. But what do you think about Truin? Before ever seeing him in a New York City Kid.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's been brought in as like for like. I played with Aussies myself, Lucas Neal, Tim Cahill, Kevin Muscat, and they all had a certain amount of arrogance, and arrogance in a good way about them. They were all very self-confident. They're all very, very athletic. They're all very hard in the tackle as well. I like the mentality of the Aussie player, and I think for Truin and O'Neill to play alongside each other, it will help Truin bed in, I think, Glenn. That's for certain. I don't think they particularly know each other, but they will have spoken. They will have a very similar background. They'll have a very similar outlook on the game of football as well, Glenn. So I think that will help him. I am looking forward to seeing him play. I don't know loads about him, but you know that the CFG group know enough about him, and they would have brought him to NYCFC. And of course, Pascal will have looked at him as well. And for everything Pascal says, he likes the look of him. And that's good enough for me, Glenn. That's good enough for me. If Pascal says yes, I'm happy.
All right, well, here's Pascal on Hack. And have you ever had an experience going up against one of your former players after they transfer so soon? Hack is expected to be in their 11, and that's crazy. I mean, he was just wearing the other uniform not long ago. But anyway.
It is what it is. It is what it is. But I'm happy for Justin that he found the place where he wants to continue his career as a professional player. I would be lying if I would say I didn't want him to continue with us. But he made other choices, and that's clear. And we're ready to compete against Justin Haak now, and hopefully leave LA with a big smile on our face and a big frown on his face.
I wonder if who he's going to have contact with first in the midfield. You know, Max, you better beware.
Well, I know there's a few guys that are ready for him as well, so that's a nice thing to know.
Now, you must have experienced that at some point in your career, Matty Lawrence. All of a sudden, your buddy is on the other side.
Yeah, and it is very, very difficult, actually, especially if you're going up against them. It's different if they're just playing on. They're on the other team, which happens so often. But yes, good friends of mine have been centre forwards, and then the next season I've had to mark them. It does become. It's hard to put aside those friendships that you've got, but it does happen very quickly. The minute you get elbowed across the nose, you realise that they're not your mates anymore, and you'll shake their hand after the 90 minutes. But yes, who's going to have that first 50-50? I think that's a great question. Is it going to be Trewin against Hack? Is it going to be Hack on O'Neill? Those are the players that you think love a tackle. Maxi Morales is not going to do it. He's smart. He'll be jumping out the way. He's still playing football at nearly 39. He's not going to get involved in those 50-50s, Glenn. You know that.
All right. Well, Matty Lawrence, for those who are uninitiated towards my broadcast partner, over 600 matches professionally in England, at the back, Millwall, Crystal Palace, Fulham, and others. And I think of these guys playing at what we would say is an advanced age. For instance, at the back for the Galaxy, although he will not be in the starting lineup, Maya Yoshida is 37 years old. He's normally the captain and starting at the back. They're going with Glesnes, the new guy they got from Philadelphia, and Garces, who has played often. But I think of Glesnes and Hack, and I sat with Greg Vanny at the Coachella event, and he likes the fact that one's from Brooklyn and one played in Philadelphia. He said they need that.
Yeah. They are very, very, they're almost old school in a way, and that's not being disparaging. They're old school. They head it, they kick it, they love a challenge. I know that you told me that Glesnes likes to think he's got a bit more about his game as well. He likes to play the game of football,
we might
which
see
is
today,
fine.
Yeah, we might get a chance to see that.
When you look at his stature, though, he's an old school centre half, isn't he? You look at him, he'll head everything, he'll tackle everything. He is a good player. I always go back to that Glesnes and Jack Elliott partnership of Philadelphia Union. It really was quite first class.
Yep. Elliott now with the Chicago Fire. He's got some sort of a head injury. He did not play for the Fire last night. There's another connection. So we have the Hack connection, but the new sporting director for New York City FC is Todd Donovan, and he won 4 MLS Cups with the Galaxy as a player, and he also won with San Jose his rookie season. So he has this experience in Los Angeles as well. Coming over from the Sacramento Republic, so kind of a West Coast figure who's now on the East, and it's new leadership. You have Pascal Janssen in his second year, and now Todd Donovan replacing David Lee. Yeah, look, David Lee did a good job for NYCFC, went off to pastures new, and so time will tell how Todd Donovan does, obviously. But yes, he's somebody with a lot of experience, certainly in the playing sense, and a lot of experience with the Galaxy and out west. It's a little bit different when you're behind the scenes, but I'm sure he'll be enjoying his time back in LA. The Galaxy have already played a match. They qualified for CONCACAF Champions Cup. Somebody had reached out to me in some manner, I can't remember, and how did this wooden spoon type team get into CONCACAF Champions Cup? Well, Joseph Paintsill scored the game winner against Orlando in the third place game in the Leagues Cup last summer. And despite the poor results along the way, in fact, opening up the season with 16 games without a win, the Galaxy last year, coming off winning MLS Cup, but they finished third in Leagues Cup, and that qualifies you for CONCACAF Champions Cup, where they tied San Miguelito 1-1 on the road, and so they'll have to play another game come midweek to kind of see how that might happen at home. But so they've already got a game in, Matty, and I don't know how that works in favor or against, but they don't have many of the same starters in the lineup either. Yeah, it's always good to get a game under your belt. It means you're a little bit closer to true match fitness. You're never truly match fit until you're 4 or 5 games into the season. Anybody who watched that game, though, Glenn, and I watched the majority of that, it was nothing more than really a pre-season friendly. It was played at a very pedestrian pace. And as you say, only 4 of the starters in that San Miguelito game are playing here today. So, yes, it was very much a reserve side. Justin Hack got a run out. I think he had about an hour, 60, 65 minutes, and then he was withdrawn. But, yes, that was not the LA Galaxy that we will see today. That's for certain. Well, their coach is Greg Vanny. He played for the Galaxy and then came back and now is the coach coach, and we talked about winning MLS Cup in 24, and then the disaster in 2025, finishing 26th overall in MLS and 14th out of 15 teams in the West. And we sat in nicer conditions out in Indio, California, to chat about just that.
So what we did all through the process and through this and all during the season, good or bad, we stayed committed to the process. Here's what we're doing well. Here's what we're not doing well. Here's how we need to improve upon it. Some of this is going to include guys coming back from injury, because in MLS it just so happens that, you know, when you're missing a DP or somebody, usually the guy that replaces him doesn't have the same level as the guy who's coming back. And so some of this was, we need to get healthy to get to some of the things we really want to do, but we're not going to change who we are. So I felt like we never panicked as much as we could have and would have liked to panic. We didn't. We stayed true to
What would be an example of panic? What do you mean?
Change the system.
Okay.
We tried that in New York and we took 7, right?
Yeah.
We said, okay, we're having a tough start to the season. We're going to New York. We're going to try to adjust our structure and deal with this a little different. We took 7. Guys were uncomfortable all over the field. We looked disjointed. And we're like, okay, no more of that. It wasn't actually an act of panic, but it felt like it. And it felt like it to everybody. And we took 7. And so that was the last time that you saw us play in a 5. And we went back to what we were comfortable with, and we put guys back into their roles. And we started to find our way back into who we are and how we want to be successful, because a lot of it is built around the players that we have. You know,
Wow. So you change to 3 at the back, you lose 7-0 and go, yeah, I guess that wasn't such a good idea. The Red Bulls, by the way, winning on the road against Orlando City 2-1, starting 3 teenagers. I believe I saw something from MLS Communications that suggested that no club in the history of MLS has started 3 teenagers in a game. And one of them scored 2 goals
as well.
Julian Hall scored the 8th minute 40. They went up 2-0 and then kind of hung on under Michael Bradley.
It wasn't 3 19-year-olds, was it? It's 16, 17.
16, 17.
Yeah,
And,
they were young guys. It's quite a feat. It won't last, that's for certain. There's no way that a 16 and 17-year-old can string together 20, 30 games at this level. They're not used to it physically wise, not used to it mentality wise. There's only a very few special people can do it, Messi being one of them, and even then he was drip fed into it. So it'll be intriguing to see how they do progress, but they will be dipped in and out every now and again, players of certainly 16, 17.
One other thing before we head out, and there were a bunch of games played yesterday, and we're going to review most of that at halftime of our broadcast, which is coming up in a few minutes at 6:45 on the New York City FC Network. That's 6:45 Eastern. It's the pregame show with Pascal Janssen. Kickoff at 7:10 p.m. Eastern. That's the schedule. And then we'll review the games from yesterday in depth. But one of particular interest, LAFC, Inter Miami, 75,000 plus at the LA Coliseum. It's the largest opening day crowd ever in MLS history, the second largest in MLS history, and just a wonderful spectacle because you have 2 global stars, Messi on the Miami side and Son on the LAFC side. Marc Dos Santos in his first year, replacing Steve Cherundolo. 3-0 LAFC wins the game. Boanga, he got this goal. And I do want to say, because I put something out, I woke up this morning and I saw that Messi had to be restrained by Luis Suarez from entering the referee area after the game. So Messi was not pleased with the officiating. He went through a door. If you go on social media, you'll see it. It was posted by a gentleman. A lot of people have looked at it. Well, pro referees came out with a statement and said he never entered their actual locker room area. But if Suarez wasn't there, I don't know what would have happened, as you'll see on the video. Me personally, I thought that if Messi was going to be angry with anyone, it should be with his goalkeeper. Watch this one, Matty. So this is the goal. Look, this made it 2-0, and well, watch Dane St. Clair. What is he doing, you might ask?
Well, he's not judging the flight of the ball very well, that's for certain.
No, and so to me, if Messi was going to have an issue with anything, it might be with his goalkeeper. We'll take maybe one more look at it here. Yeah, here's the replay. I think this was as classic as it gets, where the keeper just and how about what's the responsibility of the back group, Matty? When there's no pressure on the ball, what do?
Yeah, you drop.
It's in the Bible. It's in the defending Bible.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't drop. St. Clair came out. I don't know what was going on, but anyway, that was
St. Clair just doesn't do it either, does he? He's just totally in no man's land.
As
he's there, he's got to go for it. You go for the ball. If you miss the ball, you take the player out. You can't just stand there and do neither. He had no effect on the player or on the ball. It was quite unbelievable.
I don't know. Well, that's going to do it for our first NYCFC pregame live of 2026, the first of many as New York City playing at the LA Galaxy, Dignity Health Sports Park. I had to look at it because I could never remember the whole thing. Dignity Health Sports Park, in our airtime, 6:45 p.m. Eastern. You have to sync our broadcast up with Apple TV in order to. You have to do that manually in order to hear your hometown commentary here tonight. And it is the opener. New York City, only 2 wins in their previous 11 openers. But like we said, they're always on the road at the beginning of the season, partially because the weather in the Northeast is like this. And I know that might be a little too dark for you, but we're only going to get about 2 feet of snow here in the New York, New Jersey, and Northeast area on a Sunday night. So thanks for being with us here, and hopefully you'll join us there on the New York City FC Radio Network. For Matty, I'm Glenn. Enjoy the game, everybody.